Hey there, I'm Brad. I've taught English for like, I don't know, 9 or 10 years, and keep a list of words that people mispronounce all the time in my classes. After teaching several thousand students from like 50 different countries, certain words are just words in English that I always hear mispronounced. So what I wanted to do today was go through those words with you, and you can kind of do like a self-audit to see, which of the words you are pronouncing correctly and which of the words maybe you need to work on. So let's get into it. You're going to see a lot of, words that you actually have to use in English. You're not going to see a lot of like, I don't know, obscure medical terms or obscure scientific terms that, maybe you'll use one time in your entire life. Trying to keep it to words that, you actually need, things that will actually help you. So here's the first one. It's a fun one. I got it from 9gag. I'll go ahead and cite my source here. These words are troublesome for even very advanced speakers. I've heard people with embarrassing stories about how they went to a bar and they ordered a, scary animal instead of a, delicious alcoholic beverage. Or people who have, been at the zoo and they've pointed out, said, oh, look, I saw a beer at the zoo instead of I saw a bear, right? So real quick, this picture, if I had to describe it, I would say this is a bear with a beard drinking beer with a bird. So a bear with a beard drinking beer with a bird. A bear with a beard drinking beer with a bird. Bird with a bear who has a beard who's drinking beer. So yeah, if you can say this 5 times fast, you can go ahead and teach English. One more time. Bear with a beard drinking beer with a bird. At the end, there are practice sentences for all the words we're going to look at today. There are about 100 of them. I'll try to go through them really fast, or as fast as I possibly can. And then at the end, you can practice the sentences and we'll see how you do. This next one, really important because you do not want to embarrass yourself. I have heard people mispronounce this word in business meetings in front of some pretty important people. And it can be embarrassing, right? This word, this is not a sound, okay? This is an O sound. So we want to say focus, focus. Exaggerate it if you have to. Don't say fuckus, right? That sounds bad. Focus, right? And if you have trouble with the word, just go ahead and say concentrate. Don't embarrass yourself. Focus. Next one, can and can't. This one seems easy, but I get people all the time who have been speaking English for years who say that, when they say can or can't, whoever they're talking to, ask them to clarify. And real quick, we'll do like a quick little lesson on this. Here's the deal. I can do it. The rules of English are that modals are going to be unstressed and they're going to come really fast. So it's not, these sentences I wrote here, it's not I can do it, right? That sounds robotic and it doesn't sound like English. I can do it. She can help you. We can speak multiple languages. I don't know. Brad can assist you, right? So it's not going to be can. It's going to be unstressed and really fast, and it's going to sound like can, right? I can, she can, we can, Brad can. All right. The other rule here is that if it's a negative, it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be stressed and it's going to sound very obvious. So I write these same sentences. Okay. All of a sudden, instead of this being really, really fast and squished together, right? I can, she can, we can, it's going to be very obvious and slow and stressed. So I can't do it. She can't help you. We can't speak multiple languages. Brad can't assist you. Now, if I were saying it more naturally, it'd be a little bit faster, but it would still be much more obvious and stressed. So I can't do it. She can't help you. We can't speak multiple languages. Brad can't assist you. The problem is, this is what happens. If you are saying these type of sentences, but really stressing every word, like I can do it, people are going to say, hey, what do you mean? Is it can or can't? Because they're expecting this to come really, really fast. They're only expecting the negative to be stressed and very obvious. All right, moving on. That could be a whole lesson. Maybe I'll post a link to a video in the description that covers this a little bit more. All right, moving fast. These are pretty easy. They all rhyme with good. So get that L out of there. They're all going to rhyme with good, right? So would is going to sound exactly like this would, right? Would, should, could, good. Do not pronounce that L. It's a sound. All right, here I got some delicious mac and cheese, one of my favorite American foods. Don't hate on mac and cheese. It is delicious. I don't know why. A lot of international people, a lot of my students will make fun of it. They'll say it's not that good and it's everywhere and they can't avoid it, whatever. But if you like it, you might say, hey, Brad, this mac and cheese is amazing. Can I have the recipe? Recipe, okay? Recipe is how we pronounce this. Can I get the recipe for the chocolate chip cookies? I have a family recipe for, I don't know, potato salad, all right? It is not the same as this word. This word is receipt. It has a silent P. We do not say the P, so get that out of there, right? So maybe you're making a recipe. So you go to the store and buy a bunch of things, and then you get a receipt, receipt, receipt. Again, practice sentences at the end. We'll go through pretty much all of these words in sentences. You can pause the video, practice, and then I'll tell you what it should sound like. Comfortable, 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 comfortable. I don't know if it's technically wrong if you say comfortable. I guess that's okay, but it sounds, I don't know, that's not how most people say it. Comfortable, comfortable, comfortable. I'm sitting on a very, very comfortable chair, which came from my office now that everyone is working from home in 2020. Comfortable. Cousin. A lot of times people want to say like a ow or o or something like that. No, it's a like in the word up. Cousin, cousin. If you have a big family, maybe you have a lot of cousins. Maybe you have 10 cousins, 12 cousins, 15 cousins. I think I have 9 cousins. Touch. Yeah, common word. I hear people, they want to mispronounce this OU. It's the same as the word cousin. It's just so cousin, touch, touch. So, you know, don't touch the computer screen, for example. Famous. This is not a, it's a. Famous, famous, famous. These words, it's a j. This D is going to sound like a j. So it's educate, educate, education, graduate, graduation. So you want to get an education and you want to graduate from high school or college. Loose and lose. This one sounds like an S. This one sounds like a Z, right? So this one is voiced. This one is not voiced. They mean different things. Yeah, I get tons of students who they'll just pick one of these words. They're interchangeable to them, and that is incorrect. And the pronunciation is also different. So loose is like the opposite of tight, right? So these jeans on this person, they are very loose. Okay, they're not tight. They're loose. I could also use this word to mean like, you know, something is moving around and not tight. Like maybe if I shake my cell phone and there's like a loose part, right? Something is moving around. Loose sounds like an S, right? Lose would be the opposite of win or gain, or the opposite of find, okay? So here, this person has loose jeans because it looks like the person tried to lose some weight, okay? Lose some weight. So the opposite of gain. I could also use it like, I don't know, I always lose my car keys or lose my wallet, okay? So they sound different. This is lose, this is loose. Real quick, the stress here. Desert, dessert. Desert, dessert. Stress goes here, stress goes here. All right, the next couple of words, basically what we have is we have some E's that people, for whatever reason, they want to pronounce them as short E's, but they're really long E's, right? So this is frequent, frequently, frequency. Frequent, frequently, frequency. So I don't know, I frequently take walks in my neighborhood, for example, or frequently, I don't know, watch football on TV. All right. Same thing on the next slide. I think we have a few more words. Recent. Okay, that's an E. Recent. And then experience. Okay, experience. So I don't know. Tell me about your recent experience. And again, we'll practice all these at the end with some sentences. Public is how we pronounce this. It's public. Okay. Government, get the N out of there. Government. Again, if you say the N, it's not wrong or anything, but typically what we're gonna say is government, silent letter. We just don't pronounce that N. So you might say there are some strange things happening in my government right now. What else could I say? Yeah, I have a government job. My day job, I work for the government. No N, we don't say the N, government. Same thing here with this month of the year. Here I have the worst holiday of the entire year, hate this day. February, no R. You can say the R, but most people do not. So if you want to sound natural, I would say probably the best way to say this is February. Valentine's Day is February 14th, for example. Next slides, what I have is I have some words that cause some problems because of the stress. All right, so it's hotel. So the stress is on the last syllable, the second syllable, right? So you might say I stayed at a really nice hotel right before the pandemic hit, or many people who work in hotels, lost their job after the pandemic. Same thing here. Stress goes second syllable, so success. You could say maybe you've enjoyed a lot of success in your career, or you've had a lot of success learning languages. Engineer goes on the last syllable. That tends to confuse people, right? So maybe you have, maybe you're studying to be an engineer. Maybe you are an engineer. Maybe, I don't know, you admire engineers because it's so hard to get a degree in engineering. But that's how you pronounce it, engineer. Here we go. This is a little confusing because, of course, we have this word. This word is law. But then if we're talking about the person who practices law, it's a lawyer. Okay, rhymes with boy, lawyer. So it's a little confusing. Make sure you get that one correct. Quarter, I would say, is the most common way to say this. Quarter, right? This is a quarter, it's worth 25 cents. Legal, right? This is another E where people want to say like but it's an E, so legal. So if you're a lawyer, then you have a legal career, okay? This one, word stress again, frustrated. You might be frustrated trying to improve your pronunciation in English because it's complete chaos and strange and weird, and sometimes it seems like there are no rules. Assistance. This one I included because this is like an ince at the end, right? It's not people want to really like exaggerate this A and say like assistance. No, assistance. Assistance. This one, it's like a or in all these words. A lot of times people want to say like are, but it's or, right? So warn. I tried to warn, or the police officer gave me a warning. He warned us not to do what we were doing. Maybe you won an academic award. at your high school or university. Award, war. Okay, or. Warn, warning, award. These Europe, European, and Euro. Um, yeah, it's kind of like it's almost like you're saying your and up really quickly, but with the stress on the first part. So Europe, right? Europe, Europe, Europe. Europe, European, Euro. So maybe you went to Europe on a European vacation and you had to convert your currency into euros so that you could spend your money. Another place on the next slide, Asia and Asian. It's not it's a, Asia. So I've traveled to a couple of countries in Asia, and I've had many Asian students that I've taught English to. Asia and Asian. Another place that's a little confusing, of course, we have this word. We have, north, south, east, west, right? And then this is pronounced south, of course. That's not a word that gives anyone any trouble. But here, if we're using the adjective, we're going to say southern. So it's a, not an ow, right? So southern. So I live in the south, or I live in the southern part of the United States. Okay, southern, southern. All right, words that start with AU, a lot of times people want to say like owl, particularly like Spanish speakers. I hear this a lot, right? It's going to be awe. Like all these words are going to start with awe. So author, audience, automatic, authentic, automobile. Just an awe sound, not an owl, right? Author, audience, automatic, authentic, automobile. Here I got some words that we borrowed or stole from French. A lot of these words we're not going to say the T, it's going to be silent, and it's going to end in A, right? So my daughter, she dances, she does ballet. Here we have a buffet, a dessert buffet. If you go to a nice restaurant or, someplace really fancy, a hotel maybe, you might have valet parking. You buy a car, you might buy a Chevrolet, right? We don't say et, we say Chevrolet. So again, a lot of these words, these are the three common ones. Just make sure that it's ballet, buffet, and valet parking. This is confusing because, of course, we have nature with the long A sound, but natural. A lot of times people want to, they want to use the same vowel sound here as here, but no, it's different. Nature, natural, nature, natural. I really like nature and I love walking around and exploring the natural world, right? Adjective, noun, nature, natural. Toward and towards, technically, I guess in American English, they say we use toward more than towards, and that's towards is more British. But I hear people use both here in the US, towards, or toward. These tend to get people, this is the sound, it's not a oo, so blood and flood, okay? Blood, flood, blood, flood. These get people as well. Measure, and treasure. It's a measure, treasure. One problem people have in the US is the measurements that we use here with, pounds and ounces and inches and feet. It's a mess for people who are not used to living in the US. Once, right? Once. Put a little castle here. Once upon a time, the way you would start a typical fairy tale. Once is the pronunciation. I didn't do it twice, I did it once. Items, long I sound, items. So you can, I don't know, go to the express checkout lane at the supermarket if you have fewer than 10 items. Ancient, very, very old. So maybe you like exploring ancient ruins, or you like reading about ancient history. Evil, evil, right? Another E, that's an E sound, not a eh, right? Evil, evil. Dozen, meaning 12, right? It's not a O, it's a duh, duh, dozen. Weapon, this one gets people as well. They want to say like E, but no, it's weapon, weapon, put down your weapon. Drawer, I'm not talking about someone who draws, right? We also have drawer, somebody who draws. I'm talking about these things, right? These are called drawers. The most common pronunciation would be drawers. So I don't know, you have like a drawer for your socks. Maybe you keep your pants in another drawer. Maybe your jewelry goes in a drawer. There we go. Guard, R, guard, guard. It's like this U is kind of silent, guard. Engine, engine, it goes on the stress here, engine, engine. Wheel, wheel is the way we pronounce this. We'll practice some sentences in a couple minutes. We'll review the pronunciation of the words in those sentences. Wheel. A couple things here. One is the stress, bargain. This is when you get like a really good deal on something. So if you, I don't know, for Black Friday in the United States before Christmas, you go out, you go shopping, you buy like a 60-inch screen television for $200. You got a bargain, bargain. You got a really good deal. This one's fun. These are all adjectives, right? So private, corporate, legitimate. I don't know, another example would be like desperate, okay? Here's the rule with this. If I say, so if I have verbs, right? Typically the verbs that are ATE are going to rhyme with ate. So to educate, that's a verb, right? I like to educate my students. I'm trying to educate my children. Graduate, I graduated from high school. I graduated from college. Demonstrate, I want to demonstrate the pronunciation of these words. Initiate, right? These are actions, so they're going to rhyme with ate, okay? If these right here, these are not actions, right? These are adjectives. If it's an adjective, and usually a noun as well, it's gonna be like it. It's not going to be ate. The only time really, most of the time when it's ate, it's going to be a verb. Here, all these adjectives, they're going to be it. So private, it's a private event. Corporate, it's a corporate event. Legitimate, you have a legitimate concern. We have a legitimate problem. Legitimate means like real, authentic. Desperate, we're desperate to find a solution. It, right? It's not ate for any of these words, all right? Ton, yeah, this is just the sound, ton. It weighs a ton, it's very heavy. Iron, so the mineral, and then also this guy. Slang for lifting weights is this guy's pumping iron. It's a slang way to say lifting weights. Iron, 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 iron. And then same for like, you iron your clothes to get the wrinkles out. It would be pronounced iron. Literature, literature, literature. Maybe you like reading serious literature. Literature, literature, literature. American measurements, measurements that you might not be familiar with. Quart and pint. Pint is 16 ounces. This, often beer would be served in a pint glass. It's pronounced pint. And then 2 pints is a quart. You'll definitely see these measurements in the US in recipes, or, if you're buying milk or something like that. Pint and quart is how you pronounce them. Violent and violence, really like a silent O here. Violent, violence. I try not to let my children watch violent shows on TV or violent movies. There's too much, I might say there's too much violence in this in this movie. You can't watch it. Determine, determine. Stress goes right here. Determine, determine, determine. Today we're trying to determine which of these words you pronounce incorrectly, for example. These two words, if you're using it, verb, as a noun, it needs to be use. Okay, so for example, I might say, I have no use for this. Okay, that's a noun, use. I have no use for this. But if it's a verb, it's going to be use. I can't use this. Verb, use. If it's a noun, use. So, funny spelling. It's weird that it's pronounced so, but it is, right? So the same as this word, really. So this is a sewing machine. You might say, I know how to sew. My mom taught me how to sew, or I need to learn how to sew. I ripped my shirt. Can you sew it for me? That's the pronunciation. Extraordinary, extraordinary. 2020 has been an extraordinary year. Suite, like a fancy hotel room that has like a separate area, seating area. That's called a suite. So if you do a lot of traveling, this word is important. Suite, suite. Wild and mild, these two words tend to give people trouble. Mild is like the opposite of spicy. It means like, like soft, not severe, really. Right now we're having some mild weather here in Florida, right? It's not really hot, it's not really cold, it's just, nice and pleasant. So mild and wild. These two, we're starting to get a little more advanced towards the end here. Two words that are spelled exactly the same and they mean different things. Capital P, right, is Polish, right? Meaning coming from the country of Poland, Polish. And then what you put on your nails is polish. So this is nail polish. This is the Polish flag. Maybe you really like Polish food. Maybe you have some Polish students in your class. But maybe over here, yeah, nail polish. You buy nail polish, or you paint your nails with nail polish. And O. This one, I'll also try to post a link for this one in the description. This is could be an entire lesson. We have some words that are nouns and verbs, and depending on whether they are nouns or verbs, the pronunciation changes. Generally, the rule is the stress goes on the first syllable if it's a noun. So, so let's say I want to use a public park for an event that I'm hosting. I would need a permit to use that park. So something from the government, piece of paper that says, hey, you can use this field on this day, right? A permit. But if I'm using it as a verb, I would say I'm permitted, stress goes here, to use the park. I have a permit. So permit, 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 permit. If it's a noun, it goes on the first. If it's a verb, it goes on the second syllable. Again, I'll post a link with some other examples, just so you can see the difference. Here's another one, combat and combat. We're trying to combat this problem. And then, combat. I'm not very good at the video game Mortal Kombat, for example. Again, this word is pronounced core, so like the Marine Corps. It's a silent P. So if you're talking about, the Marine Corps, or the Army Corps of Engineers, or something like that, if you see this word silent P, core, silent S actually as well, just core, United States Marine Corps. And I think this is the last word. This is pronounced colonel. It's a, very high rank in the military, colonel. So if you see this word colonel, it's kind of pronounced like this. Colonel is the pronunciation, colonel. All right, that was the last one. So now we're getting to the fun stuff. If you're following along and want to test yourself, what I would do is pause the video, go ahead and say it, and then you can listen to me, and we'll see how you do. So this one is, I saw a bear with a beard drinking beer with a bird. I saw a bear with a beard drinking beer with a bird. I saw a bear with a beard drinking beer with a bird. Bird, beer, beard, bear. This one is, you look great. Did you lose some weight? Lose, right? It's going to sound like a Z, okay? The opposite of gain. Did you lose some weight? This one we talked about the stress, right? Modals are going to be very fast, but negatives are going to be very slow and stressed. So this one should sound like this. I can code really fast. I can code, but I can't design things. One more time. I can code, but I can't design things. Not stressed, stressed. This one's going to sound like ja. Educate yourself and make sure you graduate from school. This one, a collection of words where the E, people want to make a short sound, but it's really a long sound. This should be, tell me about your recent experience with the government. Get that N out of there, government. One more time, tell me about your recent experience with the government. This one, the modals we looked at Noel, get the L out of there. They should all rhyme with good. So this one is, I would if I could, but I don't know if I should. I would if I could, but I don't know if I should. This one is, can you buy the ingredients for this recipe? I want to make my favorite dessert. I'll pay you back if you bring me the receipt. Silent P, dessert, recipe. The beds at the hotel are super comfortable. The beds at the hotel are super comfortable. Do you think you'll have a legal career and become a lawyer, or do you want to be an engineer? Legal, lawyer, engineer. I frequently have more Asian students than European students. Frequently Asian, European. I found a quarter in my sock drawer. Quarter and drawer. Oh, I forgot to underline these. Oh no. So sorry. This one should be, this is a private corporate event. Private corporate event. These are adjectives. They are not actions. They are not verbs. So it's it. Private corporate. Private corporate. It's not eight. It's only eight if it's a, usually only eight if it's an action, like to educate, to graduate, to initiate, to demonstrate. College exposed me to so much great literature and amazing authors. Literature and authors. Is this a quart or a pint? American measurements are ridiculous. Quart, pint, measurements. This will drive you crazy if you're not used to it. All our measurements here. Inches, feet, yards, quarts, pints, ounces, gallons. It's crazy. I was frustrated for years before I finally found success. Frustrated and success. There was valet parking at the ballet. Words that come from French, we're not going to say this T, right? Valet and ballet. Valet and ballet. And the difference at the beginning, V and B. Valet, ballet. We'll focus on Polish history in February. So it's relating to Poland, it's Polish. Polish is what you put on your nails, okay? We'll focus on Polish history in February. This one is, my cousin lives in the southern part of the United States. My cousin lives in the southern part of the United States. Southern part of the US right here. If it's interesting, if it's on the West Coast, we don't really call that like the South. The South is more like this area. And here I am in Orlando, right here in Florida. This one is, the natural world fascinates me. I love nature. I'm going camping in the desert next week. It's going to be wild. Wild was also one of the words we practiced. Forgot to underline it. There it is. Natural, if it's an adjective, natural. Nature, the noun, nature, and desert. The stress goes here if we're talking about this dry place. How could they rob that place? There are tons of guards, tons of guards. So tons meaning either, a lot, kind of like a slang way to say a lot, or it can mean, 2,000 pounds, I guess, is a ton. And guards, so this U is kind of silent. Guards. A flood destroyed the ancient artifacts. A flood destroyed the ancient artifacts. A police officer walked toward the group and gave them a warning for drinking in public. He also told them not to touch anything. So toward or towards, warning, public, and touch. Once upon a time, there was an evil wizard. Once an evil. There were a dozen weapons in the house. Dozen and weapons. Dozen meaning 12. I got such a bargain on this nail polish, but I don't know if I have any use for it. This word, if it's a noun, it's going to be use. Okay, the verb is use. The grocery store won't permit you to use this checkout line if you have more than 15 items. Permit. This is the one, again, I'll post a link for this, but if it's a noun, it's permit. If it's a verb, it's permit. Okay. Here it's verb permit. I think this is the last one. My grandfather was a colonel in the US Marine Corps. Colonel and Corps. Just kidding, there's one more. Most of these iron weapons were used in violent battles. Iron, weapons, and violent. That's how you pronounce those. And we're done. So what should you do now? What I would do is I would go through these words, maybe write down, make a note of the ones that you are pronouncing incorrectly, and then think of some, real sentences that you can relate to your life using those terms maybe. So I don't know, if like this word, nature, right? If that one's hard for you, if you want to say like nah instead of nay, right? Come up with a sentence that you can relate to, right? So maybe every weekend you like to go hiking because you love nature. Or maybe you're not a big fan of nature and therefore you move to a big city. Something that you can relate to. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Hopefully that was helpful and what you were looking for. Happy to answer any questions if you put them in the comments. And yeah, until next time, have a good one.